Welcome to the future of digital note-taking. Meet the Huion Note X10, a powerful tool designed for professionals, artists, students, and alike. Whether you're sketching ideas, taking detailed notes, organizing your creative thoughts, the Huion Note X10 seamlessly bridges the gap between handwritten notes and digital notes. Let's dive in and explore how this device can revolutionize your note-taking, lifting your productivity to new heights. Let's check this thing out. I think it's going to be really cool.
Is this the ultimate note-taking device? In my opinion, it may well be. It's perfect for making digital notes. You can also take conventional notepad and integrate it with this very cool device. You can actually take the supplied paper as well. You can connect it to your phone. And later on in this video, I'm actually going to take you through some really cool note-taking methods like the SQ3R method of note-taking. We can even combine this device with a 1B5, making digital notes as well as hard notes, and we can even use it as a mouse trackpad. I mean, this sounds too good to be true. How could you do so many things in one device? And I bet it costs a fortune. It's actually really affordable. Plus, to make this even better, and we're also going to test other possibilities like OneNote, as well as checking, well, which app is exactly the best. We're going to use someone else's YouTube video as inspiration, because they did a really good summary and they asked you guys what was the best. So we're going to have a look at that. We're going to test out at least a couple of those, including Notion as well as OneNote. I've waited long enough. Let's go for it. So a couple of things. The first one is, I'm going to quickly take you through a note-taking method. We're going to test out this giant notepad. Can we make notes in this and record them digitally? And we'll test the conventional 1B5, both of which should work, fingers crossed. And let's see how it fares. Now, step one, first thing I did was to mark off the region of interest. This is so that I have a region within my notes on which the text should transcribe into a digital format, if I place it correctly. So this is a little bit tricky, trial and error here, because again, I don't think anyone's done this. I may be the first, or maybe someone else has. Send me a video link if someone has. But once we position this, I mean, we're opportunely positioned here to make our notes transcribe across. I'm just going to do a quick test. Bear with me here. This may work. I'm not sure. And yep, very straightforward. Quick test, any good. Let's see if this will transcribe. So we'll connect it to Bluetooth. We'll reconnect to the device. Now, in theory, that should update this page. Now, I've not technically created a new page, so I'm not sure if that's actually going to work correctly. Okay, it looks like it has created a new page. We'll just make sure it has connected. Okay, yep. Take note, a little bit of features, battery power and so forth. We probably should update, and quick sync. There it is. Our offline documents are now saved on our device, which should go to cloud storage. That's kind of handy as well. When you create your account, it'll link to your cloud storage. Sorry, the previous one is me just doing some random testing. I didn't even show you guys that. Don't worry, too boring. Let's continue. So right now we can see one of my marker lines, but I don't see the other four, so I'm going to have to readjust these marker lines. Sorry, a little blurry on the paper, but have a look at the phone. We can see where we're trying to write. Ah, there it is. We can see it on the screen. So now we have to find it. So this is probably the most tedious part, but I mean, once you figure out how to do this, it's quite straightforward. And clearly the matrix is a bit smaller than I had anticipated. Now we're in business. Look at that. We can actually see the marker. Nibs detecting perfectly fine, and I will stress this is writing through a 1B5, which is not technically designed to do. So we're pushing the boundaries here, but this makes it way more feasible for you to use this in a daily situation. So let's go for this. Does it actually detect the nib correctly? Oops, yep, a little bit buggy, but I think that was partially my fault. I accidentally touched the screen and now it's locked me out. That's okay. Cancel app, reload. This is real life stuff. You guys see what it's like handling this thing firsthand. I'm not going to edit that out. It's kind of useful. Now anyway, let's see how this works. So a couple of things for today. I really want to teach you a couple of note-taking methods, but once we figure out that this thing is working, we'll launch into that. So I promise I'll get through that. But for now, that's looking fairly good. Shall we see if we can make some notes here, maybe starting with SQ3R. If you haven't heard of this already, this might be one of the most powerful note-taking methods that you must know or at least be aware of. It was coined by Francis P. Robertson, an educational philosopher. And very straightforward method, The name itself is an acronym that represents the key steps in our normal note-taking process. So we had survey, question, read, recite, and review. So really, really straightforward technique. Now a little bit more detail on each of these components. For survey, you are meant to scan the resource. Fairly straightforward. Scan through, look for those key bits of information. Obviously the headings are going to feature. You may look at some of the figures, images, charts. You may even jump to the table of contents or even the index. Once we find those key bits of information, generally you're going to have to set a goal. You're going to have to find the purpose of the information. We want to read with purpose. If we have no purpose, we're going to be inefficient. We're going to have to reread it. Now, for the next one there, question. You need to formulate questions. Think of it like your own process. You must think, why? Why are we reading this? What is the purpose? What am I trying to gain from it? Now, once we've done that, we're ready to read the information. This will be our first actual proper read. So aiming for deep reading. Likely, this will be a good time to start making some notes. So if you have got your notepad ready, note down some key information. Once we've worked through the note-taking process, we do need to recite the information. That's to enhance our memory, otherwise we get pretty forgetful. And very important, the goal for that step, memory storage and retrieval. We want to be able to remember what we go through. And the last step is review. If we repeat this process, particularly the checking of our notes, through a little bit of repetition, well, we can remember for a long time. And there it is. Check out the digital notes. That is pretty impressive, given that that's actually done through a 1B5. Ignore the date. It's not my fault. It took me ages to edit this video. Ignore that detail. Busy life. I'm sure you understand. But there it is. We can use a 1B5, make digital notes and normal hard notes, should we say, or proper 1B5 notes, and transcribe it to a digital app. Now that digital file, man, you can do so much with it. You can transfer it into another app. You can even color code it. You can fill it in with all sorts of other notes. I mean, that's pretty cool. But can we take something like this gigantic notepad, not sure how many pages, I'm going to guess at least 300 to 500, does it right through that? I can tell you straight away it didn't go through all of it, but just scanning through, I'm going to estimate maybe 200, 250 pages. Do you think it's going to work? Well, clearly it works, because we're going to show you how it works. So pretty impressive, actually. The electrostatic specifications are meant to be around 10 mil, but looking at this, man, we're really pushing the boundaries of its ability to detect. Now, I will stress, if you are pushing this and using a rather large notepad, you may run into detection issues. Now, during my test, mostly I didn't seem to have any problems. And just quickly here, we're going to go through one more note-taking method. It's the Cornell method of note-taking. You may have heard of it, coined by Walter Polk, the professor at Cornell University. This is way back in the 1950s. Very simple note-taking method. You take your A4 page, divide it into 3 columns, not all equally sized, but you can customize this. There's the Q column, the note column, and the summary column. The Q column has keywords, any sort of linking phrases, your study prompts, and even key concepts. The note column generally just has bullet points. You could do some sentences, abbreviations, any kind of key symbols, but you want to keep the spacing relatively simple, include some diagrams, and even use memory techniques. They're very effective to include. And then right down the bottom, we would include our summary column. So this is more or less your table of contents, maybe your index, and your quick reference area. I like to include a little bit of like future directions as well. It's always good. Now, I'm not quite sure how many pages that was. Maybe 120 to 150. I probably should count them more specifically so you know, but it can work through a relatively large notepad. That's quite a lot of pages, which makes this incredibly versatile. Now, another question that I'm sure a lot of you may have. Can we use a normal ballpoint pen? Because let's be honest, that would just be incredible. If you could use your normal pen, 1B5, and this special notepad, I mean, that's like perfect. Let's quickly create a new page here and just do a quick check. So we are connected. Theoretically, we should see the pen right? See what I did there? Good. Okay, let's see. Okay, that's a negatory. For some strange reason, it's not detecting. Now, multiple reasons for this. I mean, you probably saw this coming straight away, but it is curious. We had a thought. The reason for this is that electrostatic attraction. This particular pen has very special pen nibs, which actually facilitate that signal transfer between the pen itself, movements, and the actual tracking pad. Or should we call it a matrix? I like the word matrix. Go matrix. Of course not influenced by the movie itself, but maybe it is. Now we can switch our nibs. This little metal tab, or should we say clip, is required for this process. Right now I've got the nib in that's actually made for, I guess, no writing, so it's ideal for your trackpad functionality. But let's see how well this would work. So you could theoretically, not that you'd necessarily want to do this on paper, but if you ever had the need, you wanted to add something in that wasn't on the paper, but you wanted to add it digitally onto your notes, I mean, there it is, easy. So that works quite well. The nib removal process, as I said, is a little bit tedious. Would have been nice if there was like a quick release function. If you lose that little metal bracket, you're going to be in a world of pain. Not to say it's impossible, but it is annoying. Okay, let's test the detection range. I found this quite interesting. You could release the pen nib from the casing, and I'd say at least 2 centimeters, maybe more, before it begins to drop off in signal. So maybe the pen itself amplifies the signal, or maybe there's some end point that it must connect to complete the circuit. But that's kind of cool. And again, this makes it really versatile. Now, those pen nibs aren't terribly expensive. I'm sure you've been wondering, which does leave you with the option of being able to obtain them for relatively cheap. So you can ride away, you're not going to worry too much. And I'd say they are fairly similarly priced to some of the other pens you can get on the market. So I guess that's a good deal. Now, a couple of other things. What if you accidentally bump your book while you're busy making notes? Can you realign it, or are we more or less doomed? You can never get your digital notes to overlap again with your paper notes. Well, as you can see here, it actually is possible. It's not easy, but it is possible to realign, which means you can totally do this. That makes it very versatile, and it's even library-friendly or friend-friendly, whatever the situation may be. What about the detection limits? Can we go to really small print? Does it still detect? What if you're someone who writes really small, like this? It still works. Don't you find that incredible? How does this thing do this? How does it still manage to detect such fine print? That's actually really cool. And obviously for the larger print, we're not expecting any problems. If anything, it may work better with larger print. Okay, I'm pretty impressed right now. I think this is really, really doing well. Let's push it to the final limits. Can it do cursive? And forgive my cursive, it is quite literally rusty. I don't even remember the last time I actually tried to write cursive. So man, this is going back many years. But this is cool. It works. What about clearing errors? What if you accidentally make a typo? Well, it looks like that's going to be a mess in your paper notes, but digitally, you just use the eraser and you can clear up whatever mess you made. Try and adjust it on the paper as much as you can, and that's pretty cool. Now for the next step. I'm going to use a rather dated laptop here with the HP ZBook G2 workstation. A bit better than a general laptop. Lots of power, and we're going to see what this little trackpad is like. Now I assume we're going to have to install an app straight away, but once we get that app in, hopefully this is just going to work. And as promised earlier, we do need to find some really good YouTube videos from other creators, and we'll see what is the best note-taking app that we could pair the Huion Note with. I'm really interested to see for my own note-taking process. Now, straight away, we do need to install the driver. Really easy to find. Head to the Huion website, download the driver for the particular notepad that you're using, in this case, obviously the Note X10. Once we're there, install that driver, and communication complete. Obviously got to let all the rules go through, and there's a few screens that I may have skipped through, but there it is. Pretty straightforward process. Once we're in the app, I guess we're connected. Yeah, look at that. It's already detected it. All we have to do now is test it. Where's the pen? Now, probably better here to use one of those plastic nibs. Oops, there's a bit of a glitch. The pen can't be removed unless you have a second pen. That's kind of weird. But anyway, just as well they put the hole down the bottom. Easy. Now, I would recommend using the plastic nibs, otherwise you may have a chance of scoring your beautifully white finish. Very nice finish there on your notepad. Cover, shall we say. But once we're in here, I mean, this is working really well. Check this out. We can move around our mouse on our screen just by flicking around our hand, on this case, over our trackpad. If that's not the coolest dual functionality I've ever seen, I mean, this is really pushing the boundaries. So this is ideal for those business meetings, maybe a Zoom call, or even an online class where you're trying to make some quick notes. Very, very versatile. So while I switch out this nib, we need to find a YouTube video. We want to know what is the best note-taking apps that we could pair up with this device. Now, personally, I've been using OneNote for a long time, so I'm kind of hopeful OneNote's going to work. But there is one very important question that I'm sure you and I both have. Can we convert digital notes into text? That is the challenge. That is the thing that I really want to be able to crack as well, but it's not easy. Not all the apps support it. Some of them do support it, and it just doesn't do very well. So let's have a look. We'll find inspiration from Tiago Forte's video. In this case, he did a really good job. 6,519 students were surveyed. This is the results. Absolutely check out his channel. Really, really cool. But there it is. Very nice data table. Now, we won't watch the whole video. Head over to his channel and give him a thumbs up for that one as well. Really, really cool comparison. So we get to see the shortcut. What do all of you guys use out there? Well, Evernote came out up top, of course. Notion is pretty good. I'd highly recommend Notion. But personally, I use OneNote quite a lot just because it's software installed on my device with the Microsoft package. Microsoft Office, that is. So quick test, does it work? Okay, that's not too bad. I do have one complaint. It's actually kind of difficult to track where you are when you cannot see where you've written on your page. Now, obviously, if you track the mouse cursor, you sort of figure it out. But that could get like a little bit difficult. And there are more luxurious models, probably 4 to 5 times the price of this one. Then you have a screen. Maybe that's better, but the screen ones do require a bit more external power and they're a bit more tedious to lug around. So find the sweet spot. This is really quick and dirty, very easy device to use. Plug it into anything and off you go. And what better way to use OneNote than to make down some notes on what this product can actually do. So first things first, obviously it's a tablet with digital paper, but you can actually use it for quite a lot of different things. So note-taking, drawing, sketching. You could even use it for business use, making quick notes on the fly. And obviously it has quite a lot of versatility from that perspective. Now, key features. It is lightweight. We've got 18 hours of battery life. We do have at least 2 color nibs, total of 4 refills supplied, which is kind of handy. In terms of sensitivity, there is meant to be pressure sensitivity, and not something that I use very often, but there is the ability to have a bit of pressure sensitivity. So ideal for drawing from that perspective. We have quite a straightforward interface, one button within the notepad itself, which controls all of our functionality. We do have cloud storage supplied by Huion in this case for this, but you could also use some of your own cloud storage and combine it in, which is kind of cool. Now, very important, we do have a digital eraser built in, which makes life very easy if you do make any errors. Now, I don't think it's necessarily built into the notepad itself, so it does have to be managed through the app. So keep that in mind as well. You must be online, you can't do it offline, which makes sense. You wouldn't be able to see where you're writing offline anyway. Now, multi-page support. This is really, really important. I believe, off memory, there are 40 pages that you can store. Don't quote me on that. That's just purely off memory. And we also have multi-OS support, which I think is quite a cool feature. You can use whatever operating system you're using. And very important detail, it does support most of your common writing apps. And the last one there, affordable. Check your prices on these. They're actually relatively affordable. And if you're really clever with how you do your purchases, I mean, wait for it to go on sale. I assume they go on sale every so often, which gives you the opportunity to get them even cheaper. And there it is. Do I illustrate some drawing? It's okay. I'm secretly a really, really impressive artist. As you can tell from this rendering, it is highly artistic. No, it's okay. I don't normally draw on tablets, but you can tell it's a pretty decent job. Probably the best stick figure I've ever drawn. Not bad. And there it is. The Huion Note X10. Quite a versatile device. And I guess we're looking for some sort of verdict. Should you buy one? Is this it? Well, there's still one thing that I think we need to know, and obviously Notion would be another app that we want to check. So while we run through Notion, a couple of final considerations. Are we able to convert the digital notes that we make into some sort of text? That is the goal. That is probably the ultimate goal, because then you can take your notes that you create, copy, paste them from whatever app you're using to transcribe it into something like Notion, and I mean, that's it. That's the pinnacle of note-taking in the modern age. You can take all of it and converge it very, very easily. Now, I say Pinnacle, I feel like combining in some ChatGPT action here would be good. If ChatGPT can eventually transcribe our audio into text, that would be the ideal, wouldn't it? Because you can just narrate everything. But you can't do that in the libraries. It's application. It's all about timing. But right now, technology is moving fast. So for now, this is a cool method, but it may not last forever. But absolutely, keep this in mind as one of the best note-taking devices on a budget that'll get you through making your notes pretty quickly and efficiently. Combine it in with your laptop. You can make digital notes an absolute breeze. You can even use it as your mouse trackpad if you don't like your normal mouse trackpad. But very important, you must have one particular pen that does not support normal pens, which could be a bit of a cumbersome experience. As example, if you lose it, then you run into some problems. That's kind of important. But yes, the other complaint there is the nib. It's actually not possible to remove it without that special adapter. So that's a very important detail. And there it is, the Huion Note X10. Now you know everything you need to know. One final detail, that transcription. I'm sure you've been waiting for this. Let's test it. Highlight all of it. Can we transcribe? Please tell me. Now, OneNote does actually support this function. Okay, that's not transcribed as well as I would have hoped. Let's try it one more time. Okay, that does look rather curious. Now, I'm going to say it's actually not terrible, but if I had to put a number on it, I'm going to say it's about 60% effective. So there are some of the more curious things that it doesn't quite keep track of. But it is possible. I think if you transcribe very small bits of information, it'll work really well. And we'll just put some quick limelight on the old HP workstation here. These are quite handy devices if you do decide to pursue powerful computing options. These are pretty great. This one's quite old now though, but I still love the performance. I have since replaced it. But anyway, there it is. You're fully educated on your Huion Note X10. I'll see you on the next video. Stay tuned.